Welcome to i-TUTOR Economics NCERT series. Today we are going to deal with Chapter 11, Economics of Development and Planning. Okay. To understand developmental economics, the first thing we must clarify is what exactly is development. In simple words, development refers to structural changes in an economy that lead to improvement or betterment in people's life. This includes changes like better technologies, improved institutions, higher productivity, better living standards, and reduction in poverty and inequality. Before the Second World War, there was not much concern about the economic conditions of the regions we now call the Third World countries. Most of these regions were colonies under European powers, mainly Britain and other European nations. However, after World War II, a major shift happened. Economists began to focus on the challenges of countries that were newly independent. These nations were facing problems like low income, poor infrastructure, higher poverty, and little industrialization. As a result, economists started developing theories and models of economic growth and development to help these nations progress. Most of the underdeveloped countries or UDCs were former colonies, and after gaining independence there was a new sense of purpose. What was that purpose? A desire to move forward, rebuild and achieve economic development. So development means moving from a low income, low productive structure towards a modern, productive and prosperous economy. Now let's look at a very important topic: approaches to economic development. Broadly, there are two major approaches. What are they? Traditional approach and new welfare oriented approach. Let's look at it one by one. First one, traditional approach. The traditional approach defines development purely in economic terms, and under this view, a country is considered developed when its GNP, that is gross national product or national income, increases. And along with this rise in GNP, some structural changes are expected to happen. The share of agriculture in output and employment should decline, then the share of manufacturing and service should increase, and there should be rapid industrialization, as industry was considered the engine of growth. And this approach also believed in the concept of trickle down. The assumption was, if GNP per capita increases, the benefits will automatically trickle down to the poorer sections. And however, over time, economists realized that this trickle-down theory did not always work in reality. So that was the first approach, that is traditional approach. Then second one, new welfare-oriented approach. By 1970s, it became clear that simply increasing national income does not guarantee improvement in people's lives. So the definition of economic development was expanded. Under the new welfare-oriented approach, development means reducing poverty, reducing inequality, reducing unemployment while still maintaining economic growth. So this phase became known for the slogan redistribution with growth. The idea was growth is important, but the gains of growth must be fairly distributed. And economist Mikhail P. Todaro summarized this beautifully. He said, development must be conceived as a multi-dimensional process involving major changes in social structure, popular attitudes and national institutions, along with acceleration of growth, reducing inequality and eradication of absolute poverty. So the new approach sees development as much more than income. It includes social, institutional and human changes, not just economic ones. Now let's understand the meaning of underdevelopment. UDCs or underdevelopment countries share a number of common characteristics. These features help us identify why their economies struggle and what challenges they face. So let's look at them one by one. First challenge was predominance of primary sector. Most people in UDCs depend on agriculture. and other primary activities. Industry and services are comparatively less developed. Then second one, low per capita income. That means the average income per person is very low, which reflects low productivity and weak economic structure. Third one, widespread poverty. A large portion of the population lives below the poverty line, struggling to meet basic needs like food, shelter, and healthcare. Then, wide inequality in distribution of income. That is, income and wealth are distributed very unevenly. A small minority may be very rich while the majority remain poor. Okay. Then, overpopulation. Population grows at a faster rate than available resources, which puts pressure on jobs, infrastructure, and public services. Then, low rate of capital formation. That means savings are low, investment is low, and as a result, capital formation also remains low. This slows down economic growth. 7. High rate of unemployment and underemployment. Many people either do not have jobs or they have jobs that do not fully utilize their skills. For example, decreased unemployment in agriculture. Then next one, technological backwardness. Production methods are outdated, productivity is low, and modern technology is not widely used. Then next word, dualism. What is meant by dualism? This means the coexistence of two very different sectors in the same economy. For example, a modern industrial sector alongside our traditional agriculture sector, and these sectors do not interact efficiently with each other. So in short, underdevelopment is not just about low income. It is a combination of economic, social, and structural weaknesses that hold a country back. Next heading, meaning of underdevelopment. Meaning of underdevelopment. Okay. Now let's define the term underdevelopment clearly. Underdevelopment refers to a condition in which a country's people have very low standard of living. This happens mainly because per capita income is very low, then productivity in the economy is low, and also population grows very fast, which reduces the income available per person. The term underdevelopment refers to that state of economy where levels of living of masses are extremely low due to very low level of per capita income resulting from low levels of productivity and high growth of population. Okay. Now look at this box, features of an underdeveloped economy. The term underdeveloped country is relative. The World Bank in its World Development Report classified various countries on the basis of GNI per capita, that is gross national income per capita. According to that report, there are mainly three types of countries: low income countries, middle income countries, and also high income countries. Low income countries means GNI per capita of $906 and below. Then countries which have GNI per capita ranging between $906 and $11,115 is considered under middle income countries, and high income countries means GNI per capita of $11,116 or more. Okay. Now let's understand the difference between economic growth and economic development. A very important topic for both conceptual clarity and also for UPSC exams. So we will compare them point by point. First one, state of development. Generally, economic growth is used when we talk about developed countries. So these countries already have high income and mature structure. So their main concern is increasing output further. Okay. And what about economic development? Economic development, on the other hand, refers mainly to the problems and challenges of underdeveloped or developing countries, where structural changes and improvement in living standards are needed. So that's about state of development. The second difference is nature and level of change. Economic growth is a gradual and steady process, and it refers to a continuous increase in output over the long run. Economic development, however, involves discontinuous and spontaneous changes. That means deep fundamental transformation in the economy, society and institutions. It is not just about increasing numbers. It's about changing the entire structure of economy. Then scope of change. Economic growth simply means producing more. There is more goods and more services. But economic development goes much deeper. It focuses on efficiency, meaning a higher output per unit of input, and it involves changes in the composition of output. For example, moving from agriculture to industry and services. Then it includes better allocation of resources, and more significantly, it aims to reduce poverty, inequality and unemployment. So development has a much wider and more holistic perspective. Then extent of change. Okay, that is, economic development is considered a broader concept than economic growth. That is, development is equal to growth plus structural change. Remember this. Development is equal to growth plus structural change. Growth alone is not enough unless it is accompanied by improvements in institutions, technology, living standards and equitable distribution. Now look at this box. Differences between economic growth and economic development. Let's now clearly differentiate between economic growth and economic development. Although the two terms sound similar, their meaning and implications are very different. So let's compare them one by one. First one, focus or applicability. Economic growth deals with the problems of developed countries. And what about economic development? It deals with the problems of underdeveloped or developing countries. Second one deals about the nature of change. In economic growth, change is gradual and steady, and in economic development, change is discontinuous, spontaneous and deep-rooted. Then what about the meaning? It means economic growth means more output, and economic development means not only more output but also its composition. Then type of change. When we consider the type of change, economic growth is concerned with quantitative changes, mainly numbers like income, output, investment, etc. But economic development is concerned with quantitative and qualitative changes like better institution, technology, poverty reduction and so on. And the scope of economic growth is narrow and the scope of economic development is wider. Okay. So economic growth simply means an increase in the output or income of a country. It is quantitative in nature, gradual in process and mostly relevant to developed countries that already have strong structures. On the other hand, economic development is much broader concept. It includes growth but goes beyond it. Development involves qualitative changes like better education, reduction of poverty, inequality, unemployment and major structural transformations. It's more relevant to underdeveloped or developing countries trying to improve living standards. Okay. Now let's move to the next topic, measurement of economic development. To understand whether an economy is truly developing, economists use several indicators. Broadly, economic development is measured using four major criteria. What are they? First one, GNP or gross national product. So GNP represents the total market value of all final goods and services produced by, note the point, residents of a country in a specific year. And this includes income earned by citizens within the country plus income earned by citizens living abroad minus income earned by foreigners working inside the country. That is, GNP, we have learned it, GNP is equal to GDP plus NFI, that is net factor income from abroad. So GNP is often used as a measure of the economic condition of a country, and the idea is if GNP increases, the economy is producing more and the standard of living is likely to improve, other things being equal. Okay. The second one, GNP per capita. While GNP shows total national output, it does not tell us how much each person gets. That's why we use GNP per capita, which is GNP divided by the total population. GNP per capita reflects the average income per person and a sustained increase in real or per capita income. Real per capita income means inflation adjusted per capita income over the long period. It is considered a sign of economic development. However, this indicator is meaningful only when the growth rate of GNP is higher than the population growth rate. If population grows faster than income, per capita income will fall. Okay. Then third one, welfare. Economic development is also seen as an improvement in human welfare. From the welfare perspective, development means higher consumption of goods and services, improved health, then higher literacy and a better overall standard of living. In simple terms, if people are healthier, more educated and have better lives, the economy is considered to be developing, even if only income figures don't show the full picture. Fourth one, social indicators. Okay, social indicators measures the basic and collective needs of people. These includes direct provisions such as health services, education, food and nutrition, then clean and drinking water, sanitation and also adequate housing. These indicators help us understand how the benefit of development reaches the population, especially the poorer sections. So economic development is not measured by income alone, it is measured by GNP per capita, welfare improvements and also social indicators. Development becomes meaningful only when the higher income is accompanied by better living condition, better health and better opportunities for the people. Now let's move to the next topic, determinants of economic development. Now we will discuss this very important topic, that is determinants of economic development. Economic development is not determined by a single factor. Okay, instead it depends on a combination of economic, social, political and even cultural factors. Let us first understand the economic factors, which are the most direct determinants of development. First one, economic factors. First, natural resources. That is, natural resources are one of the primary determinants of development. A country with abundant natural resources such as minerals, forests, fertile land and water has a higher potential for growth. However, resources alone do not guarantee development. For example, Japan has a very few natural resources. Yet it is a highly developed country because it uses technology, human capital and efficient systems. On the other hand, India has abundant natural resources but still faces underdevelopment. Why? Because due to poor utilization. So what matters is not just the existence of resources but how effectively they are used. Second one, capital formation. Capital formation is the key to economic growth. It means the addition to the stock of capital goods such as machinery, factories, infrastructure, as well as intangible capital like health, education and research. And capital formation leads to higher labor productivity, increased production and income, then adoption of modern technology, industrialization, better utilization of natural resources and also expansion of markets. Without adequate capital formation, development becomes slow and difficult. Okay. Then third one, size of market. A large market encourages producers to produce more, invest more and adopt more technologies. A big market leads to higher production, more employment and a higher per capita income. This is why developed countries try to expand their markets internationally through institutions like the WTO. A small market restricts opportunities for large-scale production and innovation. Then fourth one, structural change. Structural change refers to changes in the occupational and sectoral distribution of the economy. Every economy is divided into three sectors. What are they? Primary sector, secondary sector and also tertiary sector. Primary sector includes agriculture, forestry and animal husbandry. Secondary sector, industry, manufacturing and construction. Then tertiary sector, trade, transport, banking, communication services and so on. An economy that remains predominantly agriculture tends to stay backward, and development requires a shift from primary to secondary and tertiary sectors. This is known as structural transformation. Okay, this is known as structural transformation. Then fifth one, financial system. A sound financial system includes organized banking, then strong money and capital markets, availability of credit and stable financial institutions. An efficient financial system channels saving into productive investment. This is essential for capital formation, industrialization and overall development. Then sixth one, marketable surplus. What is mean by marketable surplus? Marketable surplus is the excess agricultural produce available after the farmers meet their own consumption needs. This surplus can be sold in the market and generate income. Higher marketable surplus leads to increased purchasing power, more demand for goods, higher production, higher employment, and also increased national income. Without marketable surplus, industrialization cannot progress because the non-agricultural population depends on the surplus for food. Then 7.1, foreign trade. Foreign trade plays a crucial role in development. A country with a favorable balance of trade and good terms of trade earns more foreign exchange. We know that foreign exchange helps in importing technology, machinery and raw materials, then stabilizing exchange rate, boosting investor confidence and also overall economic stability. So countries with strong export performance are generally more developed. Then 8th one, economic system. The type of economic system also affect development. Countries with a free market system, it is also called laissez-faire, it often grows faster. Why? Because of competition, innovation and efficiency. And it is controlled or centrally planned economies may experience slow growth due to lack of incentives. However, there is no universal rule. Some mixed or controlled economies have grown rapidly too. So the effectiveness depends on how well the system is managed. Therefore, the economic development depends on several interconnected factors: natural resources, capital formation, market size, structural change, financial system, marketable surplus, foreign trade, and the economic system. No single factor can ensure development. It is the combined impact of all these elements that determines the pace and success of a country's economic progress. Okay. Now let's move to the non-economic factors. So far we have discussed the economic determinants of demand. But remember this very important line by economist Ragnar Nusk. He said that economic development has much to do with human endowments, social attitudes, political conditions, and historical accidents. Capital is necessary but not sufficient. This means that just having money, factories, or resources is not enough. A country also needs strong human resources, good governance, technology, and a supportive society. So let's look at the non-economic factors that influence economic development. First one, human resources. We know human beings are the most valuable assets of any country. That is why human resources are often called human capital. A country with healthy, skilled, educated and efficient workers can achieve high productivity and rapid economic development. Human capital formation means improving education, skills, training and overall productivity of workers. So there is a circular relationship between human development and economic growth. Better human development leads to higher economic growth and higher economic growth leads to more resources for human development. For example, Japan and China, they transform their economies mainly by investing heavily in human capital. Second one, technical know-how. Advancement in science and technology, it plays a crucial role in development. As new technologies and innovations emerge, productivity increase in agriculture, industry and services. And economist Joseph Schumter emphasized that innovation is the key driver of economic development. And what are the examples of innovation? Mechanization of agriculture, automation in industry, then IT and digital technology, renewable energy systems and so on. And countries that adopt new technologies grow faster than those rely on outdated methods. Third one, political freedom. Political conditions strongly influence economic development. A country with a stable government, rule of law, efficient administration, protection of rights, low corruption and so on will lead to faster development. And political freedom also matters. Dadabhai Naoroji, in his landmark book Poverty and Un-British Rule in India, he explained that under British rule, wealth was continuously drained out of India, and this drain of wealth was a key reason for India's increasing poverty during the colonial period. So, without freedom and economic sovereignty, genuine development is difficult. Okay. Then fourth one, social organization. social organization. Okay, this development doesn't happen in isolation. People participate in developmental activities only when they trust that the benefits will be shared fairly. If society feels that only a small group will corner all the gains, then mass participation becomes weak. And this is where the idea of crony capitalism comes in. Okay, crony capitalism. Crony capitalism means an environment where connected businessmen and elites capture most benefits, whether it is from subsidies, licenses, natural resources, or government contracts. When this happens, the poor feels excluded, social resentment rises, and development slows down. So, fair distribution and inclusive systems are essential for growth. Then, fifth one, corruption-free administration. Corruption is one of the biggest enemies of development. When corruption enters administration, what happens? It allows crony capitalists and traders to exploit natural resources for personal gain. Corruption also encourages tax evasion, and when taxes are not collected properly, the government gets less revenue to spend on education, health, infrastructure, and welfare programs. So, a corruption-free, transparent administrative setup is not just an ethical requirement. It is an economic necessity for development. Sixth one, desire for development. Okay, so next is the people's desire for development. Economic growth is not only about GDP, it's all about people's mindset. If people accept poverty as destiny, and if there is a low level of consciousness about welfare and progress, then the motivation to improve productivity will be very low. And countries where people aspire for better living standards naturally grow faster. So development requires ambition, awareness, and a desire for progress at the mass level. 7.1 Moral, ethical, and social values. According to Nobel laureate Douglas North, markets only function efficiently when people follow certain ethical norms. If people are dishonest, cheat in transactions, or frequently break contracts, then markets fail, and trust is the foundation of trade and investment. So moral, ethical, and social values are not just cultural aspects, they are economic variables. 8.1 Casino capitalism. Economist Thomas Piketty introduced the idea of casino capitalism. Here, people spend a large share of their income on entertainment, liquor, gambling, and other non-productive activities. When too much time and money go into this, it reduces savings, then investment and productivity. Ultimately, the economy suffers because resources move away from the productive sectors. Then, 9.1 Patrimonial capitalism. Patrimonial capitalism refers to an economy where wealth is mostly inherited rather than earned. When assets like land, property, or businesses are simply passed from parents to children, two problems arises. First, children may not value the inherited assets, so they don't work hard. Then, productivity falls because effort and innovation reduce. Piketty warns that such a system widens inequality and slows long-term development. Okay, so that's about the non-economic factors. Let's stop it for today. Hope you understand. Thanks for watching. For more related contents, do like, share, and subscribe.